The Mayans originated from around 2600 BCE when they were small groups of hunter-gatherers. From there they flourished, and by 1000 BCE there were lowland villages and small settlements. At 300 BCE they began to construct pyramids to their gods as places of worship and ceremonial events. Mayan culture began to deteriorate at 900 CE and had died by 1200 CE. The ancient civilization of the Mayans is found in southern Mexico and Central America. The Mayans are known for their art, timekeeping, architecture, and cosmological endeavor. Their society still affects the world today.
Agriculture! The Mayan diet focused on 4 primary domesticated crops, or staple foods, which are maize, squash, beans, and chili peppers. In case you don't know, maize is like corn. Maize, squash, and beans, when incorporated together in a diet, complemented one another in providing necessary nutrients. Corn could be used and eaten in many ways, but first it had to be processed in a way that released vitamin B3, which prevented pellagra, which is like this nasty disease of protein deficiency. It makes your skin all, it's gross. Wikipedia it. Corn could also be made into different dishes such as tortillas, tamales, as well as being ground up into oatmeal-like dishes called atole and pozole. Aside from staple crops, manioc, sunflower seeds, and cotton were also grown. Agriculture in Maya also had to contend with a number of factors that constrained plant cultivation. These factors consisted of generally poor soil quality, an overall lack of nutrients in the soil necessary for intensive production, and in some areas there was dense vegetation cover with a high canopy. In some areas there was even reduced levels of rainfall, so farmers had to build underground reservoirs for the storage of rainwater. Mayans used the slash and burn technique, which, when cultivating an area, it consisted of them chopping down the existing plants and then burning them to the ground, burning them down, and then the ashes provided nutrients for the soil for their crops to grow. It is now known that Mayans also implemented permanently raised fields connected by canals, terracing, and wild harvesting.
The Mayan people were very creative and artistic. The Mayan art style began to take shape in the pre-classic period, which is between 1500 BC and 250 AD. Their art style was refined further through the classic period between 200 AD and 900 AD. The Mayan people created a large number of sculptures to mainly depict rulers and gods. The sculptures are mainly made out of stone, wood, stucco, and jade. One common type of sculpture is called the stela. These were large stone slabs covered with carvings showing a variety of scenes. Another type of carving is called the lintel. These were usually put above doorways. The Mayan people also made paintings, although very few survive today because of the humid climate in Central America often causes the materials to decay, although there are still cave paintings that survive to this day. The Mayans have also created many great pieces of architecture. The most well-known of these pieces would be the step pyramids. These great pieces were created without the almost necessary tools such as wheel transportation, metal tools, and pulleys. The Mayans also used a base 20 and base 5 number system, and developed the concept of zero. The inscriptions have shown the Mayans doing addition with the sums up to the hundreds of millions. They have also used this mathematical accuracy to predict the position of many planets. The Mayans were also able to accurately predict the length of one solar year, so accurate in fact that there is only one day of error every 3,257 years. The Mayan people use hieroglyphs to write. There are over 500 different glyphs that each represent a different meaning. The earliest glyphs date back to 300 BC. The Mayan language was used all the way up to the arrival of the Europeans, when it was replaced by Spanish. The Mayan society was not one big empire. Instead, it was a number of small societies that were usually headed by a leader known as an Aja. The Aja would be the nobility, and he would have a number of lords, which were military commanders. These would be highest classes. Below them, there would be the farmers, artisans, merchants, and regular people. And lastly, there would be the slaves, which were mainly prisoners of war and their children.
Okay, so for merchants and trade, the economy was fairly loose in the beginning of Mayan civilization. There weren't really any merchants or vendors, so trade was mostly based on food like squash, potatoes, corn, beans, and sometimes chocolate drinks, which were made out of ground cocoa beans and water. Ancient Mayans also used to trade other basic necessities like salt and stone tools. There were readily available resources in most Mayan territory, so there wasn't very much of a need to go long distance to get stuff. Therefore, trade was mostly limited to just local bartering and exchange. Trade also increased as cities grew larger in size and craftsmen began appearing, which would sell their work for other items of value. The main population used basic commodities, like stone tools, salt, cocoa beans, and pottery. However, commodities like jade, pyrite, fine ceramics, and quetzal feathers, which is like a super pretty bird, were goods that rulers used to show off their power. One of the other more important commodities was salt. It was an important part of a Mayan's diet, as well as being critical in the preservation of food, especially meat. Rare stones like jade were used for rulers to cement their positions in society, while more common stones like obsidian were shaped into strong, sharp tools.
Ancient Mayan religion is characterized by the worship of nature gods. For example, the god of sun, the god of rain, and the god of corn. There was usually a medium between the gods and the commoners, like a king or a priest. Astronomy and astrology played a vital role. Rituals of human sacrifice and building of elaborate pyramid temples were also common worships.
Class structure. The ruler or chief of Mayan society was usually a priest, since priests were considered to be the most important people in the society. Only priests were educated enough to know the gods meant. When a chief died, his son or wife became the new ruler. If the chief did not have family, then a new chief would be chosen from the upper class people. Occupations. General occupations in Mayan society include government roles, farmers, hunters, builders, servants, soldiers, craftsmen, etc. Gender roles. In a Mayan society, men and women shared separate but equal tasks. For example, men farmed crops while women processed them.